Has there been a better time to get involved in short-term rentals, I guess would be my question, than today?
The answer is yes, it is the best time to get involved, but let's unpack that a little bit because that can have a lot of different meanings. So let's just kind of, before we get to why we feel it's the best time ever, let's just really kind of evaluate like what we just went through over the last couple of
What
years
we're
here.
still kind of going through as well, right? We're like in the post-pandemic, right? So
The biggest thing, obviously, and this is something we're still all wrestling and dealing with on a day-to-day basis, COVID has completely turned a lot of
the entire world.
Turned the entire world upside down, right? So, what we saw back in March and April, like many other hosts, we saw and experienced a lot of cancellations coming through. Yeah. But at the same time, we noticed that things were beginning to shift in the short-term rental industry. So the first thing, of course, is that attention to quality, details, cleanliness, all of these different things. Any hosts that were in the space and they were not really committed to actually providing a quality stay for their guests, those people have gone the way of the dodo bird, right?
They got squeezed out, but for multiple reasons. Is because, trust is a huge thing, especially in this day and age, because it's like, you have to trust that it's clean. You have to trust that what you see is what you're going to get. And people that were coming into the space trying to make a quick buck, just throw up a listing with grandma's furniture, wasn't really great quality. Those have gone by the wayside because they weren't making any money because demand fell off a cliff.
So that's one element of it. The second component in what we saw.
So it's really kind of thinned out the herd.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I like to call these people opportunity seekers. So it's essentially someone that gets into a business with really no inclination of actually doing it with any level of professionalism. They try to make a quick buck. And when they figure out you actually have to, work and, provide value for people, they quickly move on to another easier opportunity, disguised as,
path of least resistance. Yep. Always, every time.
Yeah.
So even though a lot of people are probably nervous of getting into the short-term rental industry, looking at this, especially during pandemic, because, borders were closed, flights were off, like all this, the thing is the people that were able to thrive during this time, switch strategies, change and be able to adapt. Those are the winners in this. And there's specific things that we did, especially in our market, to make sure we had that staying power. And that was crucial.
So the second element of why we feel it's the best time ever to get involved in this, there's more demand than we've ever seen coming into this space at any other time, at any other point in history. And let me explain. So what we saw over the last year and a half, people that were traditionally loyal to hotels and other forms of traditional lodging, well, because people kind of got spooked out about being in public areas and being around
elevators.
We're all told over the last year and a half, like socially distance, don't get close to people, all these different things.
And you have to go and get a key for a key card, talk to a person, have that like touching a transaction. Like, the thing is that spooked a lot of people.
So because of that, people that were loyal to that form of accommodations, well, they've now started gravitating to short-term rentals because short-term rentals by their nature, it's a private accommodation that you're providing for a guest. So a lot of demand has now pushed into the short-term rental space because people's preferences of where they would like to stay has now shifted into this industry.
Yeah. And just to go a little bit further on that, there's specific things with short-term rentals that are different than hotels. Obviously, it's someone's place of residence. So it has one HVAC system, right? So you're not sharing air with other people. When you have that space, it's not shared with anyone, right? So when you go in there, there's not a public place where people are in and out. It's usually self-check-in. So self-check-in, you're not meeting a person, right? You usually have a unique key code that you're going in, and you don't have to actually, exchange keys or anything like that. So just from all those sanitary type standards, especially with COVID, there's been a huge boom because people, they don't want to see other people, right? They want to just be able to go in and out and have that.
So that's the demand component. Now, the third element is, we're economics 101 here. There's the supply dynamic. So let me explain. So earlier this year, the CEO of Airbnb, Brian Chesky, came out and publicly said, ladies and gentlemen, we have a major problem. The The problem we have is that because there is so much demand coming into the short-term rental industry, and particularly on the Airbnb platform, we don't have enough hosts to accommodate the amount of demand we have coming in. And by what we can see based on the data, based on the analysis and everything that we're seeing, future forecasting, all these different things, we need millions more hosts in order to satiate the demand. So, if you break it down, people's preferences for lodging have shifted. So demand is going way up for short-term rentals, but on the supply side, there's just not enough hosts in order to satiate the amount of demand coming through. So
what happens in that case? Well, supply and demand, lower supply, higher demand. What does that equal? More money in the short-term rental pockets.
More money you can charge on a nightly basis. Now, let's break that down even further, because the other element of this is, because if there's an industry that exists where lots of profit can be made, you are going to see a lot of market participants entering the space in order to gain access to that level of profit. So the other way the industry is beginning to shift, and the hosts that are capitalizing on this are going to do extremely well. What's really important, and this is something we really emphasize in our training, is you want to provide a unique experience for your guests and a quality experience for your guests.
So what sets you apart from that herd, right? Because a lot of people coming in to even, again, make that quick buck, anything like that. The thing is why does someone want to stay with you over your competition, right? So really that should be your forward focus, is like, what value are you providing? What is different? What is unique? And why do people want to stay with you rather than your neighbor?
Yeah, and that makes perfect sense. And you were talking, Michael, about folks. Well, you both were, about the hygiene and the sanitation concerns that people have, but also it's like, people have been cooped up in their house or their apartment for so long. Do you want to leave that kind of cooped up environment to go be cooped up in a 300 square foot hotel room? To me, folks just want to get out there right now. They want to kind of stretch their legs. To me, that doesn't sound. And I'm an avid traveler. I hadn't really thought about it too much like that. I do stay in a lot of short term rentals though. But thinking about it now, as you guys are kind of going down this path, it's like, I don't want to be stuck at home and then now I'm stuck inside of a 300 square foot hotel either. That probably comes into some sort of psychological play, I would think.
Oh, totally. And that's a really important point with this. I mean, even from the pandemic, it's hurt a lot of people's income, of course, as well. A lot of people lost jobs during, the pandemic, everything coming through. And from an economical standpoint as well, like, what are you getting in a short-term rental compared to a hotel? Well, really, you have a kitchen, right? You can have food delivered to you. You can cook from there, right? If you want to save on that way. Like, when you're looking at those kind of elements, people are really drawn to that, especially families. So one of the next points actually of why it's a really great time to get into short-term rentals, part of it is that people are now, quote unquote, living on Airbnb and living in short-term rentals, because this is the age where people can work remotely. So this is huge. This is a big shift. Yes, it was a big thing before, the digital nomad, people traveling, but this was like forced working from home. But if you're forced to work from home, why do you have to be at home? You can work from anywhere, right? So what people are seeing is they're actually moving families, with them. Usually it'd just be the business traveler. Now it's business families moving from Airbnbs and short-term rentals and actually living on Airbnb. So having a really good place to stay for family-wise, that's enormous. So when you're looking at that and that income potential from there too, having long-term stays, I know it's ironic thinking about short-term rentals, but being able to attract long-term kind of stays on there for families is a really good option, and marketing towards that work from home, having great Wi-Fi, families coming in, what kind of amenities are you providing? That's a really key way to look at this as well.
That makes perfect sense. So, it's kind of ironic that the pandemic obviously is what initially, almost completely stalled out short-term rentals there for a while. Travel in general, every type of hospitality, class suffered from that. Any type of entertainment, travel, everyone suffered from that. But it ultimately kind of put short-term rentals on steroids after the fact, kind of once the dust settled and people wanted to start kind of getting back out there. It actually had the complete opposite effect on the industry, in that it helped it to spike when it almost really wiped it out initially. Is that pretty safe to say? And what you guys have seen as it, people are gradually getting back out there, and obviously the data that you guys are sharing really subscribes to that. That's very unique how that kind of worked, kind of a tangled web over the last year and a half, though.
You're exactly correct. And I mean, after people kind of got over the initial shock and we really started to kind of understand really what was going on a day-to-day basis, and people kind of, it's kind of like Groundhog Day, right? Like, people went into their holes and then all of a sudden they came back out and said, okay, this doesn't, we can deal with this. Doesn't seem too bad. Sure, we can't go overseas like we normally would, but hey, look, we can go 3 hours outside of town and here's this really cool place that we can have a unique experience, right?
Staycations are a real thing, and that's a real different way and shift of how you can attract different people coming to your place. And a big thing with it as well, I mean, yes, we're talking about, people wanting to live on Airbnb, stay there longer term, and who you're actually attracting. I mean, this is also from the horse's mouth of Airbnb itself. Like, there's a market report like Airbnb 2021. They show the amount of percentages have gone up high about people, how long they're actually staying. It used to be really short amount of stays, and now it's like, I would say about a third of our portfolio is long-term. What do I mean by long-term? More than a month. We have some bookings that literally are 6 months, 8 months on our calendar, which is incredible. And that's on Airbnb, right? So about a third of our portfolio is long-term. So that is a big shift that we've seen on the Airbnb and short-term rental platforms as well, which is very unique.
Now, the final component of why we feel now is the best time ever to get involved with this, well, it all kind of fits into all the different elements that we kind of broke down earlier on the call here. And that's, if the demand is going through the roof and there's not that much supply, well, as an income vehicle, I haven't seen anything in my lifetime that's been as lucrative and possible to turn into a real business in a reasonably small amount of time that exists within the short-term rental industry. Now, as we all seen over the last year, some people have been very badly affected by COVID. Others, really not much has changed, and other people have done really well. But what it has taught the world is that if you are relying on a single income source and you are relying on an employer, you're relying on a company, you're relying on a pension, you're trying to squeeze out a few more years to maximize your benefits, like that's going away, if it hasn't already in a lot of cases. So if you are genuinely looking for something that can provide you with real, sustainable, long-term income, and you are willing to roll up your sleeves and put in the work and provide a quality stay for guests,
this is opportunity, because you control it. Yeah. You control the income, you control what places you want, and you control your pricing. So to have that level of control and have really just control over your financial future, that's the difference here.
Yeah, and I love that. And we always talk on the channel here often about taking control over your own, financial future, guys. This is a phenomenal opportunity to get involved in something, that's completely relevant right now, but it's not a completely oversaturated market either. And I've got a question on that here in a second. But if you can put the time in, if you can be coachable, if you can be follow a blueprint that Michael and Katrina offer, guys, do yourself a favor, at least have an exploratory phone call. Go ahead and email BNB Bootcamp at VIPfinancialeducation.com. That's BNB Bootcamp at VIPfinancialeducation.com. In the subject line, put BNB Bootcamp Conversation. In the body, first name, last name, phone number, and someone from their team will reach out. Guys, what's that phone call like, and what do you offer? And I do understand that our audience members, our channel members are in line for a discount if they act in a certain amount of time. If you don't mind kind of sharing that with me, sharing that with the audience, and what kind of discounted pricing. We always get excited about that.
That's 100% correct. Yeah. So to answer your first question about what can they expect if they get on a consultation call, well, the first thing is there is no pressure. Okay. We spend a lot of time with people on the phone so we can first understand what is your background, what is your situation, what are you trying to achieve exactly? Like, what is your goal and intention with getting involved with this type of business opportunity?
And that's really important to us, because anyone that we take on into, our masterclass or any of our trainings, we have to make sure it's right fit. both ways. The alignment is huge for us. And really with that, the reason is because we spend 4 months with you. Our training is quite intense. We go through 4 months. You're going to have weekly calls in our masterclass. So our masterclass, right now we are opening up for November. So what does that really look like? We only take 10 students on. So it's a very highly focused masterclass that we allow anyone to come into. And again, is like, are you coachable? Are you trainable? What are your goals? And it's a highly focused, intense class that we work very closely with for 4 months. So when we're looking at that, it's someone that's coming in is we have to make sure that you have the sustainability and also the long-term onset of looking at this. And that's really important to us. So with VIP Financial, I mean, we really do appreciate the relationship we have with you and your team and anyone coming in on it. So for the first 4 students coming in, we offer a discount of $9,997. So that's for the first 4 people coming on. After that, it'll be $12,000 US when we're looking at that for the 4 months. So we just offer that, extend that to the VIP Financial because of our relationship that we have.
Well, we always appreciate that, certainly, and we love sharing that with our audience. Obviously, give them some additional value from coming on the channel and being so gracious enough with their time to watch our videos time in, time out. But that's a great offer that you guys have. So you're normally selling this around $16,000. You've got it down to a $12,000 effective price point for VIP, and the first 4 then are coming on at $9,997. So guys, if you're coming in on the first 4 at less than 10 grand, effectively getting a $6,000 discount, even if you're not in that first 4 and you're in that next 6 to fill up that masterclass for November, you're still getting a $4,000 discount just for tuning in, guys. So we certainly appreciate you guys extending that offer to our folks. We know that you guys get filled up every single month, so we know that you don't have to give those type of concessions, but we certainly do appreciate that. We know our audience does as well. That's BNB Bootcamp at VIPfinancialeducation.com. Include conversation in the subject line, first, last name, and best phone number to reach you in the body. Someone will get back in touch with you right away. If you want us to continue to bring Michael and Katrina and folks like this back here on the channel, we love bringing like-minded people that just add tremendous value to the experience on here. We hope if you feel the same way, go ahead and smash that thumbs up below. That helps out our algorithms, lets us know we're doing right by y'all. If you are a subscriber, thanks for joining us. If not, ding that subscribe and go ahead and hit that bell notification below if you want more updates as we bring additional content like this on the VIP Financial Education YouTube channel, where we talk about all things credit, capital, and cash flow. Until next time, thanks for joining us and make it a great day.